It began as a simple investigation of some bizarre murders in the suburbs of Raccoon City. Nothing in our training could ever have prepared us for the nightmare that ensued. We never stood a chance.
You're all going to die down here.
For those of you that follow the channel, you know the love that I have for the Resident Evil series. I got to experience it firsthand as my cousin brought around the original Resident Evil 2 on PlayStation, and I got to peek in the room, as I was too young to play it. And I got to see Leon and Claire for the first time, and hear that infamous zombie groan.
You eat all my beans?
Though it wasn't until I owned the GameCube did I actually start playing the Resident Evil games. First there was the Resident Evil 1 remake, and then later in 2002, Resident Evil 0 released. And I was scared, and I struggled, and I was frustrated. Much like the Let's Play I just finished actually. There were so many aspects to the game mechanics that took a long time to get used to. And you know I was too dumb to work out some of the puzzles. But I never gave up, and I finished it. And oh boy, the sweet satisfaction I got from finishing Resident Evil 0 that first time, and seeing the ending, and how it and the characters tie into the Resident Evil 1 remake. It was absolutely worth it, and I was so glad that I played it. Now, almost 20 years later, and the Resident Evil 25th anniversary year, for that fact, I want to go back and explore Resident Evil and all of its lore in as much detail as I can, mainline game by mainline game, so we can have as full a picture as possible of this biological apocalypse our characters call a world. And to do that, we have to start at the beginning. Now, whilst I could talk endlessly about my frustrations with the game, and there are quite a few, and maybe I'll do a my thoughts video on that, you know, to look at the review side of Resident Evil 0, that is not why we are here. Not too long ago we finished Resident Evil Village, and one of the links that game has to the rest of the Resident Evil universe was that Oswald E. Spencer, one of the 3 founding members of the infamous Umbrella Corporation, was exploring Eastern Europe in the 1950s, and after getting lost, was rescued by none other than the villain for Resident Evil Village, Mother Miranda. She became his teacher of sorts, and he managed to learn vast amounts from her and about the mould within the village that we know about from the later Resident Evil games, but the two had different ideals about what they wanted to do with this knowledge. And so Spencer, along with Edward Ashford and Dr. James Marcus, created Umbrella, a pharmaceutical company that would be a front for numerous experiments into virology, controlling of the media, politics, even whole cities, and all for their own nefarious agenda. And it isn't until the 23rd of July 1998 that things start to go somewhat awry for Umbrella, and their treacherous acts would come back to haunt them. Scouted by the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, Rebecca Chambers was assigned to the Bravo team of STARS. Her first mission, along with Richard Eichen, Kevin Dooley, Edward Dewey, Enrico Marini, Forrest Speyer, and Kenneth J. Sullivan, was to explore the bizarre murders occurring in the Arklay Mountains. And whilst most of that team ended up finding the mansion first when exploring the Arklay Mountains, it was Rebecca and subsequently Edward that would find the Ecliptic Express, a train owned by Umbrella that was being used to bring Umbrella employees to the Umbrella Executive Training Facility, which was being refurbished at the time. Rebecca would also run into Billy Coen, an escaped death row inmate falsely accused for murdering 23 people. He persuades her to cooperate due to their current situation, and thus we have our two contrasting protagonists. Throughout our time playing Resident Evil Zero, Rebecca and Billy grow closer as she begins to believe his story that he was used as a scapegoat when ordered to murder 23 innocent people, as he continues to open up to her. And this is important as that point in the game shows the level of trust that she has in him, which I also think says a lot more about her than it does about Billy. Rebecca even going as far as to lie to her superior officer Enrico regarding his whereabouts when questioned. Resident Evil games have a long line of strong, powerful female leads, and Rebecca is no exception. Despite her voice acting coming off as a tad robotic in this one, though maybe not to the extent that it does in the remake.
Richard. He's... gone.
I'm sorry.
She continuously proves her worth with her convictions in doing the right thing, whether that's helping Billy, which goes against the STAR's vice captain's orders, investigating the mess that Umbrella and Dr. Marcus left in their wake. She fought a tyrant all on her Todd as well, even putting her life on the line at the age of only 18 to help stop what could be the biggest threat to the world that she is aware of at that time. This is all with just a chemistry degree and a limited amount of combat training. This experience is something that she doesn't soon forget, but also provides the platform for what I hope could be more appearances in future Resident Evil games. And then there's Billy, who on the surface seems like another cliché tough guy protagonist, who in fairness provides a good foil in that regard for the real hero of the game, Rebecca. The subplot regarding Billy is the demons he faces in seeing the murder of innocent people by Umbrella and James Marcus, which mirrors his experience of being betrayed by his squad and refusing to shoot innocent people when he was a lieutenant. And this gets a fitting conclusion. He learns to trust again, and trust a law enforcement officer at that, and is given a metaphorical, honourable discharge, if you like, by Rebecca. But beyond that, he doesn't offer too much else to the story, aside from the odd one-liner.
Hey, Queenie! Feast on this!
Whilst Billy will likely fade into the distance, never to be heard from again, he could be dead for all we know at this point. Rebecca is now a much more complete person, determined, forthright, and as we see in the canonical Resident Evil Vendetta, choosing to use her brain rather than her brawn to help fight against the biological weapons that are trying to destroy the world. Which is great, and I completely get that character narrative for her, but just don't use her like that next time, Netflix. Dr. James Marcus was a pioneer in virology, and for the last 30 years had been researching the Sonnentrep flower of West Africa, which he had read had the power to reward those who survived eating it with superhuman abilities. After isolating the retrovirus from the flower, Dr. Marcus returned to the United States. He left the university he was working at and gave into an offer from Oswell Spencer to help create Umbrella Pharmaceuticals. This research of Dr. Marcus's continued under Spencer's watchful gaze, and where the infamous Progenitor or T-virus originated, though Spencer, Ashford and Marcus all had differing views on what they wanted it to do. Working in different laboratories, Spencer decided that they were no longer needed for his vision of the world, and had them both eliminated. When we reach Code Veronica X in these videos, that's where I'll focus on the Ashford family, so for now let's focus on Dr. Marcus. His separate research at the training facility and the lab under the church into the virus strain on different animals such as frogs, monkeys and other insects led him to success with leeches. After horrific experimentation using up to 20 young students as test subjects in a terrible number of different ways, Marcus intended on betraying Spencer, as he had become paranoid Spencer was to do the same to him, which he eventually does. Marcus's trusted protégés in research, Dr. William Birkin and Dr. Albert Wesker, more on them in future videos, led the kill squad under the orders of Oswell Spencer to murder Dr. Marcus and take any important research data and move it to the Arklay laboratory beneath the Spencer mansion. Only that's not where Marcus's journey ends. As we see in Resident Evil 0, the Queen Leech that Marcus was working on back in 1988 fell into his mouth as he died and made its way inside him. That Queen that was infected with the T-virus lay dormant for those 10 years until July 23rd, 1998, where the virus gained all of Dr. Marcus's memories, as well as some more dangerous leech-like abilities as we see in the final boss fights. This assimilation of the leech meant that it too had all of Dr. Marcus's motivations. It now wanted to take revenge on Wesker, Birkin, Spencer, and all of Umbrella for betraying Dr. Marcus and trying to ruin his research, which is what he coveted the most. It's also noted in the Umbrella Chronicles by Albert Wesker that the T-virus's mutations is conditioned based on the mindset and the type of person that is infected. Dr. Marcus was a selfish, evil man that only cared about his research, not caring who he hurts, as long as he made new discoveries and got the recognition he thought he deserved. So the infected Leech Queen thought this too, and it infected the Arklay laboratory and Spencer's mansion, as well as the train and training facility and the connecting areas around it. This one act by Dr. Marcus, or more specifically the Leech Queen, sets into motion all of the events for Raccoon City, as well as the demise of the original Umbrella Corporation. Now, whilst I guess he would consider it a success that he managed to destroy Umbrella, Dr. Marcus or the Leech Queen would never get to see it unfold, as Rebecca and Billy's unlikely partnership leads them to investigate all aspects of the training facility, the laboratory under the church, the factory, and the treatment plant en route to ending him. They would fight off numerous different infected test subjects, from the Eliminators to the infamous Hunters, as well as those gosh darn annoying as hell humanoid leeches, mimicry Marcuses, whatever they're called. Right, where are you? No, do it, throw the thing, throw it, he didn't throw it. But the most interesting battle they face is against the Tyrant, the Proto-Tyrant to be exact, the first Tyrant of its kind and the template for what future Tyrants could be based on. This one was created ahead of the infamous T-002, which we see in the next game. However, due to an overdose of T-virus in the initial infection stage, this creature had a defective nervous system as well as reduced intelligence, leading it to be deemed a failure by the scientists working on it, despite its increased strength and aggression, as we see. It was due to be transported and disposed of at the nest, but when the Queen Leech leaked the T-virus, it also led to its release, with it finding its way to the factory close by. Eventually Rebecca and Billy find the remade Dr. Marcus, and the two battle to defeat it, with its first transformation being into a tougher humanoid leech, before then mutating further into the bloated behemoth that many Resident Evil bosses become at the end of their respective games. Billy and Rebecca save the day thanks to its strange weakness to sunlight, and the Queen Leech inside of Dr. Marcus is destroyed. William Birkin reluctantly pushes the self-destruct button on all areas around the training facility on the orders of Wesker, so that no knowledge of the outbreak is released to the public. This is the beginning of Wesker's betrayal of the sinking ship that is Umbrella. Our two heroes escape, with Billy essentially disappearing off the face of the planet and is never heard from again in any other Resident Evil game, as far as I am aware. Rebecca, on the other hand, she once again, proving just how admirable and selfless she is, decides to just dive right back into the zombie-infested madness after hearing from Enrico that a mansion was close by that Umbrella uses for research. It's also worth noting that the Wii shooter, The Umbrella Chronicles, which was actually a fun game that I had for a while. I also had the little Wii handgun attachment, which was kind of cool. It was also a quick way for you to experience and explore the first 3 Resident Evil games, and it made some additions and retconned a few things along the way. For example, it's not Billy and Rebecca that end up finishing off the Proto-Tyrant in the factory, as it implied after we defeated him. No, it's actually Wesker. During his escape from the facility and towards the mansion, he faces off against it and defeats the Proto-Tyrant, whilst also meeting the main villain of the Umbrella Chronicles, Sergei Vladimir, who is the head of the UBCS.
Where might you be going, comrade?
My next mission.
The reclamation of the management training facility was your mission. And now you're just going to walk away without taking responsibility for your failure. Everything for Umbrella.
And of course, as we know, he escapes and makes his way to the mansion and there's the STARS members there himself, thus beginning the events of the Resident Evil remake, which we will get onto in the next Resident Evil Explained video. I hope you enjoyed this one, and do check out my Let's Play of Resident Evil 0. I plan to play every Resident Evil game on the channel at least once. I've completed the Resident Evil remake on a Jill run that's already on the channel, so do check that out if you want to, but I may be replaying through as Chris. So I appreciate you guys watching this on a more established series. As I said at the start, Resident Evil, I have such a great love for this game series. We also got our first screenshots of the Welcome to Raccoon City Resident Evil film, which looks sick. Effie is Claire Redfield, and Lisa Trevor looks freaking terrifying, so I'm actually really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see that. But anyway, for anyone that's new here that's found me through this Resident Evil video, welcome, and let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and of course I will see you guys in the next video.